And in that case, they bounced back with a 43-point win.
43.
Now, I will say this. Maybe a 43-point lead would be safe against the Pacers, but I don't know. We've yet to see a lead be safe against this Pacers team.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of given up on trying to figure out what's going on with the Pacers because they have now had several games in the playoffs, so they haven't played well, where their stars haven't played well, and they've won anyway. And that was what happened in Game 1. And, you look at the box score. There was no real superlative performance from anybody. They hit
their game plan against Tyrese Halliburton worked.
Their game plan in general worked.
Yeah.
And then they, I think, took their foot off the gas in the second half. Pacers got a little comfortable.
Well, the Pacers protected the ball in the second half.
They did better. Right. I mean, I went back and watched Game 1 this morning, and first of all, it was remarkable the number of turnovers the Pacers had where they just flung the ball in the air. Like Obi Toppin had 2 turnovers where he literally was on the baseline and threw the ball to the other baseline.
He just turned the ball over, I think, the first 3 times he touched it.
Yes. And then he hit 100 threes in the game.
Well, that was after Big Rich, who was sitting courtside, told Obi Toppin he was a 20% three-point shooter. Toppin quickly corrected him and said 40%, and then proceeded to boost that percentage for the rest of the game.
I think he went 5 of 6.
But listen, this to me was the story of the whole game. We talked about it a little bit. We've talked about the last couple of days. We haven't been on the pod since then. So the Thunder, you talked about all playoffs, but man, it's points off turnovers, right?
Yeah, turnovers, and those turnovers fueling their offense. They were first 3 rounds forced almost 24 points per game, or created almost 24 points per game just off.
So I watched the game in large part to chart these turnovers. I wanted to watch them and see what happened. So there were 14 live ball turnovers in the game, which means a steal or something happens in play and you can run the other way. On those 14 turnovers, the Thunder were 2 for 12 from the field. They made 2 free throws. Chet got fouled on 1 play, and they had 3 turnovers.
So was one of the 2 for 12 the Jalen Williams dunk?
Yes,
which is basically an outlet pass into a breakthrough.
Correct.
So essentially 1 for 11.
So they were 1 for 11 on all 13 of the other steals in the game.
Yeah.
They also had 3 turnovers off of those 14 steals themselves, throwing the ball away.
That's crazy. More turnovers than buckets.
Yes.
When they're running off of
in the whole game, off these 24 and off the 25 turnovers Indiana had, the Thunder were 4 for 22 from the field and had 5 turnovers.
Unheard of.
And a lot of them were just very poor. Like, they would get a wide open 3. They would miss it.
Yeah.
Shea would get an open mid-range jumper. He would miss it. The A.J. Mitchell, in the couple minutes he was in the second quarter, he got a wide open 3, got his own offensive rebound, missed a wide open 10-footer.
But what they weren't, aside from the J-Dub breakaway, were dunks and layups. And a lot of times, I mean, we've all seen, like, when the Thunder go on these runs, they're almost always fueled by turnovers. And it's J-Dub, it's Shea, it's Caruso, Case Wallace. These guys getting to the bucket, finishing in transition, and I think there's certainly some outlier here in what you're talking about, but there's also some credit to the Pacers of saying, hey, we at least got to get back and protect the rim in transition. I promise you, that was a huge point of emphasis for Rick Carlisle leading into the series. Now, so was protect the ball, and it took a half for that one to kick in.
Oh my God, there was the one, they played it on the broadcast where Carlisle is in the huddle. I can't remember if it was the second quarter or the third quarter. But
second quarter.
And he's saying, guys, stop throwing the ball all over the place.
Play with focus.
Yeah, he was like, bounce. You can't throw tight bounce passes. You can't throw tight passes against this team, which I'm sure he'd already said.
Sure.
He was reminding them. Not 11 seconds later, TJ McConnell comes out and tries a cross-court diagonal pass. Like, I mean, this is kind of stuff that drives a coach crazy.
But it was unbelievable on the rewatch to just see how many missed opportunities Oklahoma City had. So you're the Thunder. You're probably not going to get 25 turnovers again, but you certainly expect to convert more off of them. And the other thing we've talked about a ton during the playoffs is the combination of the 2 young guys behind Shea, who was also not great. He scored a lot of points, kind of did the Kobe system. Wasn't, I would say, a great performance
He did that, by the
him.
way. So he was 14 of 30. He had a game in the last round against Minnesota where he was 13 of 30. His shot totals are going up. He's squeezing a little tight.
And I would say that was a C plus 38-point performance.
That's the thing. Like, I mentioned that to somebody.
Especially when you look in the last minute. Missed box out on the Siakam cut on the baseline for a layup. Drives in on Siakam, it gets blocked, and then misses.
This is a mid-range that he would take 100
Right,
times.
the clean midi that would have given him a 3-point lead.
Right. Just obviously 14 out of 30 is not an inefficient game, but it's not what you're
middling efficient.
It's not what you're looking for.
It's not inefficient, but it's not efficient.
It's not how they play.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who, you know, when he's getting 38 points, usually it's on like 14 of 24,
right?
And 10 of 12.
He did get to the line 8 times, which he's getting to the line 8 times. That's his average.
But then the other thing that we've talked about the whole playoffs is Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, the two young co-stars who. The reason teams don't tend to win in this situation is because young players late in the playoffs tend to struggle. And for the most part, the playoffs have been a struggle for those guys where they've had moments where they played really well. But there's also been a lot of moments where they struggled, Jalen in particular. In game 1 was a moment where both of them struggled, Chet more than Jalen.
Yeah.
And, if you're the Thunder, you would like to think that coming back in game 2, both those guys will play better and should play better, and that will be a big part of them turning things around.
So where I'm going to push back is when you say most of the playoffs have been a struggle. For Jalen Williams, there was a 3-game awful shooting funk, the worst 3-game shooting funk of his career, when he was 10 of 43 over those 3. They actually managed to win 2 of them.
In the Denver series.
Those 3 games in the Denver series. Game 7, he showed up, 24 points, efficient in a blowout.
It was good in the Minnesota series.
Last series, he was great, and especially they got their butts handed to him in Game 3. He came out in Game 4 and had the best playoff performance of his career with 34 points. And he's a guy like he is Pippen-esque in his ability to affect the game all over.
And did a good job on
all defense.
And he did a good job on
NBA.
Siakam in the game. Siakam
I did
didn't
think
go
that
off.
a couple times he handed over the ball in his hands on the wing, and he squeezed it a little bit.
Well, there was the one shot, like the shot he hit in Game 5 against Denver late in the fourth quarter, the shot that clinched the game. He had the same 3 in Game 4 against Minnesota, clinched the game. He got the same look. Shea kicks it out to him. He does a little ball fake to the corner. There's a couple minutes left in the game. I think the Thunder were up 3 or 4. Chance to go up 7. Missed it. Yeah. Like, that's the shot. In those other 2 games, he hits that shot. The Thunder win this game if he hits that shot.
And